early model checkpoint. So all of these different techniques or callbacks are just going to help you to ensure that the algorithm that is running for so long is not stopped by infinite resources, or it's not something that gets affected by the kind of work that is going on. So it's not something where you tend to make mistakes when so many resources are being utilized for your training. Next is experimentation with your different loss functions. So you have cross entropy, you have focal loss. So depending on the kind of loss that you have, you can totally go ahead and experiment with the different loss functions out there. Next is experiencing with metrics. So as I have always mentioned anywhere and everywhere about the different metrics that we have in data science: accuracy score, precision, recall, F1 score, ROC, AUC, then your confusion matrix. All of these metrics are something that are chosen according to the use case. It is not something that you use it generically for any kind of problem that you're solving. So over here, you can choose comfortably what is the metric that will suit your particular task that you want to achieve. So these are the different parameters which we would want you to experiment on, and that's why it's holding a good 50 points out of your 100 points. Next is your research and analysis, which will be priced at 30 points. So implement, investigate, or analyze something extra surrounding the topics in this assignment using the code that you have developed. So we just want you to, investigate the data, try to come up with some highlights. For example, is there some interesting question we could have asked? Maybe you can experiment with the different layers in the architecture. If you try out something cool, we'll give you up to 30 extra points and may feature your results in the final presentation. So this is your out of the box space wherein, you can do a lot of work around the kind of project that you're dealing with and try to give some insightful findings that you could, find out from your EDA, from your entire project that you'll be undertaking. So your research and analysis is a very important step and something that we do as a part of our day-to-day work, even in the industry. So research and analysis is like a thing without which you cannot really drive your data science projects. That's the basic idea behind research and analysis. And the next thing is presentation. Now you must be wondering, why do we have this kind of a presentation thing over here, like in this entire scenario that we have where we are working with like data science projects, right? Ab yahan pe kyun? Like, why is the presentation criteria there altogether? So what really happens is that whenever we are working in the data science space in the industry also, we might have to present our results, like whatever analysis we do on the technical side, to business people. So whenever we have to talk to business people and really convey our thoughts and ideas, it's really good to have visualizations and information shown to them in such a way that it appeals to them and it really makes a mark. So whenever that is the case, we have to be, thorough and well prepared to deal with different kinds of presentations also on a day-to-day basis. So here, that is why the first point is there any insightful visualization that you can plot or anything fun to look at? If there is something insightful that you can really extract from your work that you've done till now, you should go ahead and do that. What can you infer from the results would be your next thing. Share a public notebook on Kaggle with your findings. So if you're able to release a public notebook with your findings, that's over and above, a cherry on the cake, basically. Upload your project on GitHub. So as I was already telling you that GitHub is a very important platform and something that you can even include as a part of your resume. So it will be really great if you can upload this particular project on GitHub. Then make a PPT describing your learnings from the projects or results from your analysis and the possible use cases of your project. So whatever your learnings are, if you're able to put it in 10 slides, that's the best way to learn about any project and how to put it in front of the other highly reputed people that you have. Next is your GitHub README, should contain all the scripts which are used in the project. So you need to ensure that all the codes that you have worked with and all the experiments that you have done with are present in your GitHub repo, and you mentioned everything in a structured README file, which is giving the invigilators or the people who are looking at your project a very good feel about the entire understanding of the project and how you went about doing this. So this is largely the second project that we are talking about, which is cats versus dog classifier. So these are the different things which you can really go about learning, Googling. You have such a big world of Google in front of you. Use Medium, use Analytics Vidya, use Google to try to learn about the different concepts and try to develop a project. Choose the one that is more interesting to you. Both of them are equally effortful. Like you'll have to put some efforts to learn about it if you are a beginner. But if you already know about it, then you can choose a project according to your convenience, like whatever you're good at or whatever you've learned about. Okay, and so this is the document which is going to be shared with you, and the data sets will also be shared with you. So that will not be a problem on that end at all. So I hope you all have at least understood what needs to be done. And this brings an end to what I had to present. We can open it up to QA session now.
Sure. Thank you so much, Ms. Ekta. That was great. If you can stop sharing,
Yeah.
then yeah, great. So we do have a lot of questions, but I think
Yeah.
most of them you have answered on our previous sessions. What is data science? What is the career like and everything? I'll take a few questions specifically to what you talked about today. So someone is asking, what do you mean by multidisciplinary field?
So when we talk about multidisciplinary field, we mean to say that there are multiple streams which are going to be used over here. So when I say fields, we say maths and statistics is a separate field altogether, right? Because you can do a lot in maths and statistics also. Like you can even do your PhD in maths and statistics. That becomes a completely different channel. Computer science is altogether always a different channel. So there are too many things which are involved over here. When you come to domain, like marketing becomes a different channel, supply chain becomes a different domain. So that way it's a very multidisciplinary field combining multiple channels, multiple domains all together. So that's the basic idea behind talking about multidisciplinary field.
Okay, awesome. I think we have more questions, but first let's just tell them about the submission. So
Yeah.
again, just reiterating a few facts. Right now, I am sending two links I've just sent two links in the chat box. One is the PDF that Ms. Ekta just presented. Whatever you don't understand, right, you can definitely email to us. We will help you out. But try and Google, right? Try and look for yourself, because that will help you get ready for the industry. Because in the industry, nobody is telling you things. I think she also has mentioned previously that you have to go out there yourself and look for information that you need. There will definitely be feedbacks. We will help you out after your submissions. But for the first submission, you have to put in a bit of effort, right? The second link I have attached is the submission form. All of you have to upload that as mentioned on a link, GitHub link, and share that with us. If you don't know how to use GitHub, it is take this as an opportunity to go on YouTube and learn, right? Learn how to use GitHub, learn how to use whatever you did not understand. There is a lot of free material available on our website, on YouTube, and definitely there are other platforms in the market who are teaching these things for free. So please go and try yourself. I hope to see that maybe around 75 people are here, maybe around 50 more people are submitting the project. If I can just get in the chat how many people think they want to submit this project and who will put in an effort to create these projects, just mention me in the chat box. Harshvardhan, are the links okay? We have two
I'm
people.
just checking. I'm just checking. Wait.
Okay.
Yeah, you can meanwhile address any questions that are there. I'll just see what is the problem with the links.
Sure. Are there only two people who are going to attempt the project? Okay, we have three. I was hoping it would be a number up to 50, right? So you did spend 1 hour listening to the projects and how do we create them. And the deadline is good. The deadline is for more than a week. So the deadline is of Sunday, 9th May, 5 p.m. So it's a good time for you to spend, learn, and build the project to your best abilities. We will definitely check for copies from the internet. We have our own systems to check that if you have copied it or if you actually built it yourself. But definitely, the purpose of giving you such a decent deadline to create this project is so that you actually try it yourself and you're able to push yourself to build these projects. And the same reason was to ensure that we are giving you certificates. I am sure that adds on a added motivation layer to attempt the project. Right, Ms. Ekta, Tanvi is asking if Python and ML are prerequisites. What are the prerequisites to build these?
Yeah, so Python is a prerequisite. ML is something that you can learn on the fly. So for the so if you are like someone who does not know ML, you can attempt the sentiment analysis project if you know Python. So that you learn about ML, just those three algorithms will also work, but you learn about them when you read it. So I would advise people to take in the first project for those who are not aware of ML. But those who are already aware of ML and really interested, go to the neural networks one, cat versus dog classifier. That would be a better idea.
Okay, sure. So Amarpal is asking, from where am I starting my CS career in AI as a beginner? Amarpal, can you please repeat your question? It wasn't clear to me. Um, Yes, Prajwal during the session asked if you can submit one project or if you need to submit both. Definitely, we encourage you to submit at least one. Even if you submit at least one project, we will share the certificate and feedback with you. But we would be more than happy if you want to build both projects, right? The more you practice, the better it is. Okay, so Chidinma is asking, how does a data scientist differ from a data analyst?
Okay, so on the data analysis side, you'll be dealing with descriptive and inferential analytics, whereas for data science, what will happen is you'll have to deal with predictive analytics, because that's the basic the basic idea behind doing data science. So you'll be dealing with a lot of predictive models, you'll be working with ML, you'll be working with AI and trying to build solutions. So that's the basic difference between data science and data analysis. The tools are also a bit different, not a bit, quite a lot in fact. So Python also has a different set of libraries, but you can do data analysis in Excel, but you can't do data science in Excel. So data analysis, data science has different tools also.
Right. So I have also added a YouTube link in the chat. This was a session that Ms. Ekta took with us a few months ago. In this, she has talked in detail about the roadmap of AI. What is the difference between different roadmaps after Python, like deep learning, neural networks? What are the careers? And I think a lot of questions in the chat, which are here, have been answered by her uh, in this YouTube session, right? So I think all of you will be able to get your answers from there. Are there any more questions regarding the projects that we are going to build? Please check the links if you are able to access them now.
Yeah, I have shared it on the chat window. You can probably share it on email also once, Tanvi.
Sure.
Yeah, for everyone.
I have also reshared the link for the type form
Not
for the
working.
submission.
They're still
Is there
saying it's not
anybody?
working.
Is there anybody, Harshvardhan, apart from you, who can check? Maybe you can drop us an email and we'll send you it separately on email also. Working. Okay, great. 2 people are saying it's working. Awesome.
Okay.
I would also request all of you to share your feedback for today's session.
Yeah, and we have 5 minutes. So if they want to ask any particular career related question, also open to that, because many a times what happens is then people come back saying this career question got unanswered.
Sure. I'll just pick up from the chat a few questions. How do you define a good data scientist and a bad data scientist? I think this is an interesting question.
There's nothing called as a bad data scientist or bad anything. Let's not, propagate negativity at all. So basically, when we talk about a good data scientist, we need to ensure that we have the skill sets for all the three different bubbles that I was talking about. That is very, very important. So you need to know about all those things about computer science, maths and statistics, and also business domain or expertise. So if you have that skill set and if you're able to apply it on your real life projects, okay, now when you're working in the industry, it'll be totally different from what you're learning. So that difference will always stay. But when you get into the industry and work on these projects, you'll get a very good hands-on idea about how to work with different things and how to work with challenging problems. Because data science is all about challenge. On a day-to-day basis, we are dealing with a lot of challenge. So it is something which is interesting. The things keep on changing. It's not something that remains static. So good data scientist related to those three bubbles. That's what I would say.
Okay, and we have a question on why is data analyst profile underrated in India, if at all, if you
It's
think it
not
is?
underrated. The data analyst profile is there in India, I think from 80s and 85s. When the investment banks really came into picture, they started with the data analyst roles. Um, he's saying that as low as CTC compared to okay, full stack developer, I think he means. So that is possible as a fresher. Now, as a fresher, you can't really say that, okay, I'm getting 8 lakhs, I'm getting 6 lakhs, I'm getting 4 lakhs. You just need to focus on the fact that what you want to do is what you're able to achieve or no. Because when you'll see like 4 years, 5 years down the line, you'll reach the stage where you want to. So wherever you start with, don't attribute everything to that. Like eventually, as you move forward in your career, you will reach the goals where you want to. You'll be able to get to that kind of CTC that you're aspiring for, get to that kind of work that you've been looking for. So don't look at it from a very fresher's point of view, that what is the kind of CTC that is offered. If you like a data analyst profile, just work towards it. Don't go towards any other field. Development, analysis, comparison, there is no comparison between both the fields. They are equally valuable today.
Great, awesome. I think
Yeah.
we are done with the questions also. Please, again, I've shared the feedback link in the chat box. Would be happy to receive any feedback about the session. And please make sure that you are registered on the website to receive the emails, follow-up emails of this session and whatever updates we will give regarding the submission. Amarpal, did we miss your question? How do we clear HR rounds in IT firms? Amarpal, I think that is whole another hour of discussion. I
Yeah.
will just write to us at student.connect. We do have sessions on that. We will share the link with you. This is our query email where you can write and get your doubts cleared. Today we have just in 3 minutes we have a session on front end development, and at 7 p.m. we have a panel discussion. Uh, this I am answering Prajwal's question, and Akansha is saying if we can share a video. Yes, the session is being live streamed on YouTube. We will be sharing a video with you, and definitely what Ms. Ekta explained, you would maybe require to revisit it. We will share the recording of this session with you in the email where we will send the submission link also. Again, thank you so much, Ms. Ekta, for joining us. Thank you so much for giving your time again for the community. And I'm looking forward to get the projects from everyone and hoping that you have a tough time checking them because because I am hoping that people are doing a good job and trying their best to submit the projects and working hard. Definitely, hopefully they are creating the correct GitHub links also. That would be a easier thing for us.
True,
Thank you
true,
so much
true.
again for your time. Any closing comments for our audience?
Very happy to check how many of our submissions that come. I have no issues doing that at all. And yeah, I would really encourage you guys to read about data science and try to attempt at least one project. Do it so that it's there on your resume. And if you want to pursue this field, and if there are stoppers, this will just aggravate you, in pushing towards the field that you're looking for. So yeah, that's what I would say. Read and try to, implement it. That's about it. Thank you so much for inviting me over. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Ekta. For those who are in the session, you can stay tuned for our next session. We will be starting in another 2 minutes. Our next speaker is Mr. Yomesh Gutpa, who would be talking about what is front-end development, and definitely I have few questions about full stack development and all. And if you at all want to get started, how can you get into it, and what is the journey he has followed? We'll just take a 2 minute gap for the session to start. Oh, we have our speaker already. Hi, Mr. Yomesh, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. So if I can get in the chat, how many people are here for the web development session also? I think new people must have joined after the previous session. Okay, we already have people for the web development session. Awesome. Great, great, great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much thank you so much everyone for staying the duration. We do have sessions planned for another 2 hours. I would love to host you further. Great. By show of hands or maybe in the chat, if we can now talk about web development and how many of us are beginners in web development, how many of us are just here to learn what is web development and front end development. Please tell me in the chat so that we can go ahead. Also, since we did not get time for introduction, if I can get which cities are you people from, um, uh, which colleges are you from, and which years are you in, so that we, are able to introduce each other. Okay, we have a few beginners. Okay, awesome. Second year, Solapur. That's great. Intermediate. Last year student in CSE. We have MCA people. Anyone who is a working professional, so who's already working, who's in the industry. Okay, Rudra has already started with front end, and you're a BCom honors graduate. That's great. I think with the recent technology boom, a lot of people are shifting from non-tech to tech also. Okay, we have an Android developer with us. Awesome.
Should we start?
Right. Great. Okay, thank you everyone for tuning in. So this session is decoding front-end development with Mr. Yomesh Gutpa. Mr. Yomesh is an experienced industry expert with over 5 years of experience. He's currently working with Apollo.io, and he has worked with more than 4 or 5 companies in web development itself. And I think how we found him is through his YouTube channel. He has been developing content on YouTube for communities and students to learn front-end development. And I think he has more than 60,000 views, and I hope we see him with more than 6 million views in a few years. I think definitely the content quality deserves that much. Over to you, Mr. Yomesh. We can talk about front-end development, and then we would be happy to take questions also.
Sure. Hello, everyone. So like Tanvi mentioned, I have 5+ years of experience, worked with various organizations like Razorpay, OLX, currently working with Apollo.io. It's based out of San Francisco. And I'm here to talk to you about front-end development. Let me share my screen. Tanvi, let me know if my screen is visible.
Yes, yes.
Nice. So the topic here today is decoding front-end by Yomesh Gupta. So first of all, when this conversation, so these type of conversation starts, people often tell you that do about, study this, study that, or do this topic, that topic, and all that. But first, I want to take a step back and talk to you about what is front-end actually, because we all been through the college process, and young professionals always into studying database, networking, or theory of automata, so many things. But front end is never part of college. No one tells you what front end is. It's a complete mystery at the college level. Now people are advanced, there is a lot of competition, and people start developing, but most of the folks are into competitive programming, data structure algorithm, those kind of things. So first, let's talk about what is front end in the most late, and let's be an interactive session. If you feel have any follow-up questions, then please do ask. I'm happy to answer everything. And be it journal interviews, anything, I have some experience in the industry, so I can best try to answer you the best. So when we talk about front end, in the most layman term, it is the UI, the web part of any end consumer product that you see. Now this could be as simple as a web page where you see some information, or this could be as complex as Netflix, Hotstar, Facebook, Amazon, their websites, their complete web system where you can order products, you can buy stuff, you can watch movies. And coupling with that, now you have to understand what is the power of front end. So I am talking about these things first, so that you can get an idea of what a front end engineer actually do in the industry, so that you can make up your mind that is it something that you like, is it something you feel interested to. Because I personally feel that be it anything, be it front end, be it Android, be it iOS, backend, be it anything, do what you love the most. Try to develop an interest, try to do a lot of things, and see what fits, what matches you. So now when you talk about power of front end, I right now, if I tell you go to yomeshgupta.com or my website like devtools.tech, I'll just give you a link. You open that link and it is in front of you. The entire, I don't have to tell you that I know front end, I know HTML, CSS, I know JavaScript. I just gave you a simple link, and that link will act as a portfolio of mine. You can see my work, you can see my skills. It is instant visual feedback. That and this can vary into complexity a lot. I mean, let's say you are working in bookmyshow.com and you are building the feature where user can book a ticket. Now that is the front end part, that is the part where end user is actually interacting. Now if you don't build that feature nicely, or if there is any glitch, then that will impact the number of people buying tickets through book my show, and eventually lead to lesser conversions for book my show and loss of revenue. So front end is an important part of the tech stack. And it when you study lead code, when you go solve competitive programming questions, there the principle is uh, that you have to optimize your code. That if it is taking order of n square, you have to bring it out to log n log n. The principle is that you have to present the most optimized code, and that is the same process you can apply here. Let's say you have Amazon and Flipkart. In front end, you work on their web interface. You define how the user journey is going to look like, that when user comes to the web page, they can search here, they can find products, buy products. And now you have Amazon and you have Flipkart, both are competing for the users. Now if Amazon takes 1 second more longer to load than Amazon, then people will go to Amazon or XYZ other e-commerce, because they will feel that Flipkart is taking too much time to load. So the system is complex. You are building systems that need to be performant, that need to be fast, and at the same time it needs to be simple. That if a user comes to your website and it is too complex to buy a product, then they won't buy it. And if it is taking too much time, then they will leave. And the entry level barrier is so small that you just have to give a link to someone. Like, let's say if we have 100 people here, 80 people here, everyone applies for a job. So what is your USP here? That if you, let's say, build yomeshgupta.com and you give that link, so that gives you an extra edge over everyone, that you can just share your skill as a proof of concept to anyone across the board. And this complexity applies everywhere. Like, you're working for Hotstar, Netflix, you're building, people want to watch an IPL match, but their website is not loading, their button is not working, their streaming is not fast. That all lies under front end. And if that is not happening fast, then they will go to Twitter and they'll tag you and they'll complain about it. So, and the degree of complexity, as a front end engineer, you work on different type of things. You work like a system like Netflix. Let's say I'm a stockbroker, and I wake up in the morning, I go to zerodha.com, I see all the stock prices. And as a front-end engineer, I build the UI where I'm rendering the chart of the trade. I am rendering the prices, which are keep on changing every second. So if I write a code that is not performant, if I write the code that is, adding latency or adding any kind of delay, then that person who's buying stocks will lose on money, because the prices are not updating instantly. So it is, front end can be as simple as a very simple web page to as high as building a very complex system like Zerodha, Facebook, Netflix. And I personally, I don't if you talk about me, I don't have any fancy education that I started with IITs or NITs, A-list college. I was like a normal kid, got into normal college, but I realized that I need to, developed a taste for front end, that this is something visual feedback I'm getting right away. That if I build on something, I'm getting the right away output of it. And as I started learning along the way, and I saw such complex systems that, like I mentioned, Paytm, Zerodha, I worked with Razorpay. So Razorpay, if you don't know, it's a payment processor. So working, that if someone goes to swiggy.com and they are trying to make a payment through credit card, then our interface used to open where you enter cards, where you enter your information. If that is not fast, if that is not simple, then we will lose money and Swiggy will also lose money because the transaction didn't go through. The UI, either if it's broken, if it's not loading fast, if it's not simple enough. So those are primarily, a front-end engineer, the job entails. Maybe it is a system like Google Doc where there is real-time collaboration. Like if you have to think, visualize with me that if there are multiple people trying to edit a Google Doc, then how would you show that? How would you make sure that there are no conflicts and it is easy to use at the same time? So this is more like what the power of front end and what exactly is a front end engineer, responsible for in the industry. You get to work on different level of complexities, different level of problems. Now comes the part that where to start and how to start. Because as I mentioned, that in college, no one will come to you and tell you that your teacher won't tell you, or anyone, that database, how to normalize a DB, how to, talk to TCP, IC, or UDP, network layer and everything, but no one will tell you about front end. So I personally believe, like if I tell you about my personal journey, that in my college days and my masters, I tried to build incremental things. Like I mentioned, that the entry level barrier is so small that I can just have a simple website, and that will act as my portfolio and as my, my work, exposing the world to my work. Like Tanvi mentioned, that they got to know about my work through my YouTube and my website and everything. So I didn't reach out to anyone. It's just that my work automatically, made sure that people reach out to me. So now how to start that work? There are ample resources on the web. You can study uh, uh, basic language construct. If you are already from the programming field, then you must have studied things like loops, arrays, classes, interfaces, and those language construct apply here also. That the primary languages we use in front end are HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You learn basic of them. Then you build a very small thing. Maybe just, Google search how to fetch data from the server and show UI. As simple as that, very simple. Or let's say if you are seeing Swiggy, then a very small part of the Swiggy, build that. Now you're comfortable with that, then build something more complex. A more complex example would be, let's say we all take to-do list, make to-do list on paper. Now how would I make it on the web, that the end user can, create a to-do list, they can add items, delete items. Once you have comfort with that, then you think that how can I add more functionality to it, that if user deletes it, then what happens, and keep on building step by step. And at the same time, why I'm telling that you should take incremental project based approach, because at the end of the day, like let's say you want to drive a car, you can study about what is what is clutch, what is race, what is handle, what is gear, and you can study those individual component as much as you want. But you will only you will only grow when you actually start driving. So you can study the fundamentals of the language, then once you start bringing these things together, then you will keep on going, you will keep on learning. Tanvi, we want to read questions?
We can take them at once.
Okay. No
I have
worries.
some pre-submitted questions also, so we can take them all together after the slides.
Okay. So there are ample resources on the web, like there is an instructor called Best Boss. There are websites like MTN, W3 schools. There are, javascript.info. You learn the basics of the language, then you build small things. And when you build those small things, then at the same time, everyone here uses Telegram, WhatsApp, they chat, they send messages to their friends, they do everything that sort. then if you can write those messages, then you can very well, write your learnings also. Let's say I'm learning how to make a simple web page. Whatever I learn, I write it down somewhere as a, as a my own personal diary, maybe on a website like Medium, Hashnote. There are, you anywhere on the web you can write and document, and that today I learned this, today I learned this, and so on. So now that is out in the world, that gives you an exposure, that when you share that on social media, share that on LinkedIn, that I have learned this, I have learned that. I personally doing that, and I was approached by Razorpay, I was approached by Google, I was approached by Amazon, I was approached by Apollo.io, where I'm currently working. It's based in San Francisco, and I never ever applied there. I never ever they spoke to anyone or anything of that sort. It's just that I built something, I documented my learning, and I put it out there, be it on GitHub, be it anywhere, so that I can share my knowledge with the people, and eventually that will act as your resume in the world. And once you do that, now the next part is, what's the job market like? We always hear that companies come and they take your test on aptitude, they take your test on data structure algorithms, uh, uh, lot of lead code questions, medium hard. But when it comes to front end, what is the job market like? How to get into companies? So I can assure you from a personal experience that if you develop skills, going about learning the language fundamentals, building small projects, making it live, sharing your work in public, the job market is pretty good. There is a lot of demand for good front end engineers. You get paid top of the line, no worries about that. And right now the job market is hot, and people are looking out for good talent. And how to get into good companies, as I mentioned, that if you are putting out your content, if you are putting out your knowledge in the world, then, and you structure it, then you see that you go to, let's say, Google website, or let's say Razorpay website, then you see what kind of in the job description, what are they actually asking, what are technologies they're asking. Let's say you collate a lot of job profiles, one from Paytm, Razorpay, Book My Show, or XYZ companies, and you find the intersection that a lot of companies in different companies for front end role, they are asking these technologies. That means this is the most occurring technology. This is the technology which I'll study. Like right now, React is very common. You learn the technology, you build a very basic thing out of it, put it out, then reach out to people. So understand the difference here. Let's say if I am reaching out to someone and you are reaching out to someone, and I tell them that you tell them that I work in an esteemed I want to work in your esteemed organization, and here is my CV. Please see if there is a role. So compared to me, if I reach out and tell them that I want to work in front end, and as a proof of concept, these are the things I have built, these are the products, these are the, let's say I've cloned Netflix UI, then this is what I have built. Now who is going to edge out here? Someone who is just saying that they know certain things, or someone who's saying that I know, and this is my proof of concept, this is what I have built, or maybe this is my code on GitHub, this is my portfolio. So that person already has an edge over everyone. And how to get into job companies, as I mentioned, referrals is one thing to go about. You can directly apply. You can go through MyWays. They're doing a fantastic job getting people into companies. So these are the some ways. And can we any questions you would like to take now?
Sure. Definitely, we can take up some questions now. Right. If we can stop sharing screen share, I will collect the questions from the chat and put them to you. Great. So I think one popular question we often get is, so what beyond JavaScript when it comes to front end? So I think a few people are discussing in the chat. I like it when people answer each other only. So someone is asking HTML, CSS, JavaScript, got it. But what after that? What are the technologies in the industry and how to go about it?
See, I'll give you an analogy which I just gave. Let's say you're learning to drive a car. So now you're driving for 1 year or 2 years. So that doesn't mean that you will now move on to truck or to fly a plane. That is not how things work. You know to learn how to drive a car, and you keep on driving to master your skills. That maybe earlier you're not that good at driver, but eventually you will get better. And so the same principle applies here. You learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You learn the basic fundamentals of it. Then you learn how to structure your code better. Then you learn how to build complex projects with it. Let's say right now you're building a very simple app that fetches the data, or that submits the data to the server. But how let's say you go to any website. Let's say you go to Google Doc. Now you think about how are they going to, how they are collaborating, real-time collaboration happening. If I type and the other person is typing, let's say if I'm or if there is a Slack or Discord kind of a app that I am, or Zoom chat, like if I'm writing on Zoom, then everyone in this here 70 people are getting this message. How is this happening? So you keep on building those things using the tools of the trade. You don't need to learn every new technology out there. Eventually, when you are comfortable and you feel strong enough that yes, if I get any problem statement, I can build a system, I can build the first version. Then you build complementary things that React, then you can build, you can learn Angular, you can build. And if you have enough experience in the industry, then you can obviously go for advanced stuff like Web3, crypto, blockchain. Those things, those are also part of web domain. But you need to keep on improving upon your skills and learn. It is not like that if you feel you will say that I know HTML, CSS and I know 100% of it. There is no 100%. A person who has 10-15 years of experience, they'll also say that they don't know it 100%. There are always, you keep on learning and building stuff.
Great. Like you talked about building your skills beyond just learning at once, because it's a continuous process, right? So, someone, I think there were a few questions in the chat also. So, as you mentioned, after JavaScript, there are technologies like React, Next, Angular, and all these frameworks. So, that they are all related to JavaScript, I believe, right? So, how does a student find the relevance of these in the industry, and which one is today the most popular? And is there any easy or difficult between these frameworks itself, or how does a student go about it?
So, my rule of thumb here is that when I was a student, that like I mentioned, I go to different job profiles and I see what are the common occurring skills. Let's say if I take a screenshot of 10 openings from 10 different companies, and 6 of them are mentioning React. That means React is a skill which will make me job ready at this point of time. It could be React, it could be Angular, it could be Vue, XYZ technology. So that, because at the end of the day, your aim is to get a good job, get into a good company, get into industry. So you to find the intersection skill, learn that. When you get, go and see the tutorials on YouTube, on the web, and learn those skills. When you are comfortable with that, then you can explore Vue, then you can explore Angular, and make your own choices. That yes, no, Angular is better than React, or Vue is better than React. You have to start somewhere and eventually build on it.
Okay. So we thank you so much. So we have a question from Anjali. She's saying that I am learning front end right now, and whenever I build websites, the user experience is different depending on the size of the screen. How can I make it more consistent while building, no matter the size of the screen that is there?
Okay, so this is one of the peculiar things about front end, that the complexity here, that when you are building a website or any web system, then you are not just building for a large scale screen. You might be building for a person who's using a mobile on a 4G network in a remote area, and you are at the same time building someone who's using an iPad or maybe Firefox, Chrome. There are different browsers, there are different screens. So, and you have to make sure that it is consistent across different screens and different browsers. Now, when it comes to that, if I'm seeing something on a large screen and if I'm seeing something on a mobile screen, then the UI is different, and it doesn't feel consistent and it doesn't feel seamless. Now here you can use a framework like, let's say, Bootstrap or Semantic UI or Google Material Design. So these frameworks are better designed. They give you the power, that they'll enable you that when you use their components, then they will render same across the screen. You have to think this is called responsive design, that you have to think first, that before even implementation, that how my website is going to look like on a mobile device, how it's going to look like on a desktop device, and draw a simple thing on the paper. Is my audio not clear?
No, I am able to hear you. If someone apart from Amarpal can also mention in the chat if there's any audio issue, I am hearing you clearly.
And yes, you can use media queries to make responsive designs. That is, there are multiple parts to it, that you can use frameworks, build frameworks. But if you're learning, if you're just starting, then I will suggest that please first use, techniques like Flexbox, Grid, media queries, so that you can get a grasp on the grassroots technology stuff, and then move on to frameworks. So media queries, and you can build different you can even work. There is also a industry trend where you can build different websites for mobile and desktop, but it's not used that anymore.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So we have a question from Deepshika. She's saying that there is a vast amount of resources available today on the internet. So there are free resources as well as paid resources. How do you find something that is to the point and relevant for you, has a good depth about the topic, and how can we choose the resources that would be more relevant for us or are not distracting?
So I would say that go about go for the popular names. Like I'll tell you, there is a website called javascript.info. That's a good resource. MTN, Web3 schools. Obviously, you can go for my resources also. I have a YouTube channel. That's pretty clear as per me. But yes, the thing is that go for the popular names first, because they have a lot of views, and they have, they are better tested, that you learn from them. Or and then eventually when you get us, because once you develop a basic understanding of things now, then you will realize that by watching a new tutorial, you will realize very quickly that is it worth investing time or not. Then eventually you'll get a sense of things, that no, this person is taking too much time, or this person is going round and round about things, and it's not substantial. Then you eventually stop doing that. So I'll suggest go for the popular names, develop understanding of the language, develop the understanding of the ecosystem, and then you will yourself start eliminating things.
Okay, great, thank you. So my next question is on projects. So you also talked about the importance of projects, right? Tinkering around things, understanding once you have the basic concepts, right? And I think every time we go into the industry, whether it is applying for an internship or a job, we do hear about the importance of projects. So how does one really differentiate if it's a good project I should pick, what is a bad project, what are a few things I should look into before building a project? And if today I am just someone who has learned a few technologies and now I want to build a project, what are the recommended steps according to you?
See, no project is good or bad. If there is a project and that teaches you even a single thing, then it's worth doing, worth putting an effort in. Be it as simple as a to-do list, be it as complex as something like a recommendation engine or anything, or a blog post or a blog. If it is teaching you something, then it is worth it. And eventually try to classify in your mind based on your own level, that if you see something like a very simple app, and when you think about it, you try to mentally visualize it, that how I will build it. And if you are feeling that yes, I can visualize it, I can think about how I'm going to implement this, then that means you have already conquered that level. Now go to something more complex. Now pick up something else, maybe like let's say you're typing on Flipkart, you're searching iPhone, and they show you a recommendation there, that a box opens and it will show you, are you searching for Apple iPhone, are you searching for iPhone 12, iPhone 13? So now that in itself is a small project, that this is an autocomplete, that how I am going to implement this. So take popular products, dissect them, and build small things out of them. And when you collectively, join them, then you'll have the entire website or entire system, and you'll learn those things.
Great. So just from your answer, you mentioned about having that problem-solving approach of how you would look at a problem, how a person attempting or looking at a project would look at a problem. And again, we hear this a lot, that inculcating problem-solving skills is very important for anybody in the tech industry, whether it is data science, ML, AI, Python, web development, or AWS, right? Developing that problem-solving approach. So someone who has ventured into the tech, right? How would you suggest developing that problem solving mindset? Is there a checklist that you have? Are there some projects that I should do for that? So how do I build a problem solving mindset?
See, problem solving mindset is something that you build over time by just working on things. If I tell you go on Lead Code or you go on HackerRank or anything and you start solving questions, the aim here is not that you know how to, write the most efficient code. The aim here is that once you do enough questions, then you see a new question, then your mind start thinking, oh, this might be the solution, this might be the technique, this might be how it's happening. The same analogy applies here, that when you start building stuff, when you start, get your hands dirty, start writing code, then eventually when a new problem statement comes, your brain automatically back of the mind start thinking, how would I solve this? How would I break this down? Which technology should I use? Should I use React? Should I use Angular? Maybe this is better, maybe that is better. So that is with experience, and how the simple one line answer would be just do stuff. And as you do stuff, you build that problem solving skill.
Okay. So we have another question on the same line. So whenever I also talk about problem solving, the straight answer I get from the community is DSA, because that's sort of in tuned that DSA is equal to problem solving. Is that true? Is there something beyond DSA also for problem solving? I think you mentioned right now also tinkering and everything. But how important is DSA for a developer? Is it imperative or is it a beneficial add-on that you should pick up?
See, data structure algorithm is part of computer science fundamentals. Every engineer, irrespective of field, should have grasp on them. Like, I mean, if you don't know that if you run two loops together, and it is taking O(n) square, you don't know that basic fundamental, then no matter you're working on front end, back end, it will cost you. If you are using those wrong understanding in a project like Zero Dha, where I mentioned that your code is adding delay to the system, and due to that, some person might missed out on a lakh rupees of trades. So that is going to cost. So you have to have grasp on the data structure algorithms, though the grasp or the level of expertise changes as per the field. The back end or the database people might require more. The front end touches upon less stuff, but in interviews, this is the reality. A lot, if you go to any fan companies, Google, Facebook, there would be multiple rounds, 4-5 rounds, based on your domain knowledge, that how much JavaScript you know, how much web you know, web security you know. And there would be a simple problem solving round where a problem solving could be that they'll give you, let's say, an array, and they'll ask you that you have to transform the array in a certain way. Or it could be something like they'll give you some design that implement this into a working model. Those also are considered problem solving, but that depends upon company to company. The bottom line is that you need, as an engineer, irrespective of domain, you need to have certain grasp on data structure and algorithm. Don't eliminate it 100%.
Okay. My next question is again a follow-up of your question about time management. So we talked about building projects. We talked about tinkering a lot with and trying and doing things. And then we talked about having basic grasp on DSA. And DSA definitely requires some practice. And in the initial stage, to get a grasp, you need that practice. So how would you suggest, what are some key points that one can take in mind while trying to manage all of it together?
See, if you are in the industry or if you are anywhere, then let's say I'm working with 100 engineers in my company. One of my CTOs, one of my manager, you can say, in my first company said that your growth, what you do in your job from 9 to 6, or maybe in your college 9 to 5, That is not going to define your growth, because that is what everyone is doing. But you go back home and you do from then till maybe the time go you go to work next or college next. That is the point where your growth will actually define what you actually learn, what you actually explore or tinker on yourself. So that's the point, that you have to minimize, when you balance it out, you don't need to spend 5 hours 6 hours every day. One part of being an engineer is that, and problem solving is that you break down things. When you study dynamic programming, I think people would be aware that you break down into smaller parts, and you find the local optima, and that will build the global optima. That's the same approach, that if you want to go for lead code, or you want to UI, break down it, that today I will study this much, even if it's half an hour, even it's a 1 hour, then next day 1 hour, then next day 1 hour, and keep on building that. No matter how much time, maybe someday you have more time, spend more time. But no, don't be like me, I have to learn front end in 1 week, I'll be an expert. That's not going to happen. It is, you have to break down the problem and learn every day.
Right. I think consistency is key when it
Yes.
comes to growing in whichever career you want to grow in, irrespective, right? Great. So I think we also have, I am sure definitely you have given a lot of interviews, and I am sure you have been on the other side of the table also, where you are interviewing maybe people potentially as your juniors or somewhere else, right? So if there are two resumes, two personas, where one student has just is just trying to put their foot in the door, where they're trying for their first internship, or where they're trying to get their first industry exposure, how would you suggest them to prepare for the interview, to build their resume before putting that foot in the door? And similarly, the same question for somebody who has done some hands-on work, maybe has done 1 or 2 internships and now is targeting good full-time jobs or something like that, right? So what advice would you give to both of them who are applying for jobs and internships?
So it varies. For people who are just graduate or in college, for them resume screening is a bit less strict in my personal experience. But at the same time, you are in a college where there are 300 people, 400 people. I am personally talking, giving this answer from front end perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, so you are there in a college where there are 400 people, 500 people, and everyone is sitting for placement, and everyone is applying for a job. Then what is your USP? Why someone should pick you over your person sitting next to you? Now, this is a game of probability, that when applying, then everyone has certain same probability at that point of time. But now it's up to you how you are going to improve that probability. That if you in your CV, if you, like I mentioned, you build small stuff, you showcase them that this is my education, and this is apart from education. Maybe I built this small app. Like, I'll tell you personally, in my masters, 3 of my friends, we got together, we thought of building an e-commerce, and at Flipkart, Jabong, and those things, this is back in the day, like 6-7 years back. And we saw Jabong, we saw Flipkart, and we were like, why can't we build this? Why can't we give it a shot? And we took help from our teachers when designing database, how to normalize it, and we built that, and it is still live. If you go to inunite.com, it is still live. It doesn't work, but it is just live, and that we built in college. Now my entire interview conversation was on that if I apply to a company, now you have to control the narrative when you are applying to a company. Let's say you go get into you are sitting in an interview, they're trying to ask you what is Java, this class, how it's implemented. You try to move the interview to your strength, be it anything. In our case, it was the project which we have done, and I talked about that, how it is not a project, it's a product that we built for end users, and how it is deployed, what kind of database I did, what kind of work. So that is how you are going to differentiate, that you have to build something. Or because if you are just saying that I know computer science, I know databases, the next person to you is saying the same thing. No, how someone believes that you are better than someone else. This is the reality of the industry. You have to put in extra.
Right. And any preparation tips beyond projects and hands-on? Any topics that you prefer to ask? Usually, any basics that should be very strong before going for interviews, since a lot of people are just place graduation month is just ahead.
Depends upon the interview. If you're applying to, but personally, if you're applying for a college placement, if you're sitting for a college placement, then it would be majorly focused on amplitude, majorly focused on data structure algorithms, those kind of things. But front end is a field that gives you a chance to apply, off campus. That there are a lot of opportunities for a junior roles, and there you can basic understanding of JavaScript, basic understanding of how web works, what is HTML, what is CSS. Can you cook a basic web page together? Can you build a basic web page together? So those construct, and if you have something to show for, then that will give you an edge, and you can apply with that. In college placements, there are very less companies that are actually, because in college there are no per se job profiles. They'll hire you, they'll train you. You can go into iOS, you can go into backend. That depends on the company.
And definitely maybe if you students are applying off campus, because I believe today's students, like you mentioned, put a lot of effort and they want to go beyond their campus hiring also. So any suggestions for somebody who's applying off campus? How do they look for roles that are relevant for them? And I think we also have a question on how to avoid maybe scam companies. I think Arko is asking. I think Arko, the answer is to check the website. But Mr. Yomesh, if you can take it up, how to avoid scam companies.
Yeah, I agree with them. I mean, no one is going to, help you out in this case. You have to do your own research. That if someone is reaching out and they are saying that you have to pay for an internship, then say no, I'm not going to do that. And if even and for at this point of time when you're just starting your career, I would say optimize for learning rather than optimizing for money. If you see that in this company I'm getting a lot of money and all that, don't think about money. That no, my aim is to get the best, highest paying job possible. Your aim is to get the most learning. Per you Once know stuff, how to get stuff done, then the amount of money people are willing to pay for good talent is something you might have not even dreamed. So don't worry about the money, focus on learnings. And internship, go for official sources. Try to talk to people on LinkedIn that I see a internship program. Would you be kind enough to help me out? And when you say help me out, then don't just say that please bhaiya do this for me and that, or didi do this for me and that. Try to show them that you have put in efforts, you have found stuff, you are trying to learn things, and now you need guidance from someone or mentorships from someone. And people are very kind and they'll go there out of the way to help you out.
Definitely, I agree. I think if you don't ask, the answer will be a no. If you don't
Yes.
ask, the answer will be a no, definitely. So we have Ritika asking maybe to share 2 cents on Tailwind CSS and Next.js. I will add on my question. So are you biased towards any tech stack? Is there some framework that you yourself prefer? And what is your favorite technology to use?
No. It's there is no preference. It is everything based on the job. The tech is a fast moving field. You cannot, engineers have a habit that if I build something and someone says that this is wrong or you could have used that technology, then people feel hurt. No. They said bad about this and that. Don't get attached to any framework, any technology. It is what the job demands. Today you are learning React. Maybe tomorrow you have to work in blockchain. I'm just saying example, or maybe you're working on Angular or Vue.js. So if the job requires, if that's the best tool for that, then yes, you do that. And when you are starting, then you can, in the market, you go and you see there, if you search the top frameworks for JavaScript, you will get Next.js, you will get React, Angular, Vue. Pick any one of them, develop a understanding, then develop a basic understanding of how things work, how data is rendering, how data fetching is happening, and then you can apply the same learning to any framework out there. It's all about the learning process. You have to master that. Don't think about the end product.
Great, awesome. So Deepshika is asking tips for someone who's trying to switch from a service-based company to a front-end role.
So see, the logic applies here also, that if you are a service based, it's if it's preferable that you go to a product-based company. Service-based companies are also good, but product-based companies are, in my personal opinion, better. They teach you uh, a lot, and because if I'm in a service-based company and I'm working for a client, then my problem statement is limited to what is the client need. But if I am in a product-based company, then if let's say I'm working the book building book my show, then I can build on stuff like I can think about that. If there are 1 lakh users on my website, then how should my website work? What is the flow there? If there are 1 crore or 10 crore users, then are they going to find my system useful? So to get into product companies, again the principle is same, that I'll give you a simple example. You go to Swiggy website, the entire website is in front of you. You don't know the backend. You don't know what is the server architecture. You don't know what is the database they are using, but you know what is the website. You can see that website. You clone that website entirely, or maybe try to make the best clone possible yourself and try to optimize it and try to edit it, or change colors or anything, and make it live on swiggyisawesome.com, or make a website why you should hire Yomesh. And when someone opens that website, you tell them that you should hire me because I built this stuff. You send them Swiggy that I have built a you when you apply to Swiggy, you tell them that I saw your website, I felt it is good, but I can make it better, and this is how I make it better. So that is your USP. You have to build stuff, you have to showcase your knowledge. That's how you're going to. And obviously referrals, go for referrals. That's always a good.
Definitely. I think cold emailing to startup founders also help. We get a lot of cold emails and we pick people from there. All right. One more question. You mentioned blockchain also when you were talking and giving examples. So I feel that technology is something today which is ever evolving, right? Today we are hearing a lot about Web3, crypto, blockchain, and a lot of other things. So as a technical person or as someone who is a part of the technical workforce, whichever, I think front end, back end, whatever role you are in, how do we need to jump into every technology that's out there, or what kind of understanding do we need to have, and how do we take those kind of decisions for ourselves?
See, this depends on. I don't believe that you need to learn every shiny thing out there, because then you won't be able to master anything at all. Because everything is vast in itself. Front end is very vast, back end is very vast. I have 5 years of experience, almost 5 years, some months, and still I'll say that I know the tip of the iceberg. There is a lot of I need to explore and learn. But if I jump onto blockchain, if I jump onto smart contracts, then I'll be neither good at front end, and I'll be neither good at the I'll but at the same time, I'll give you an example. Few years back, there was a lot of talk of AI, ML, that everyone was talking that you need to learn artificial intelligence, you need to learn all those things. So I was also influenced, but I don't want to become a data engineer, that I switch my field. But I saw that how I can use AI, ML as a complementary skill to my front end. Maybe I just give it a shot. Let's see how good it is. Knowledge never harms. So what I did was that I started studying about it in my free time. I didn't make a mission of my life that no, I'll be AI expert. I gave it some time, little things. I had a problem that I love to watch movies and I love to watch TV shows, but I was not able to find new TV shows or new movies to watch. So I was thinking, like, if I go to Amazon, they tell me you should buy this product. If you go to Netflix, they tell you should watch this movie. So I was thinking how they're recommending that. So I started searching how recommendation system happens, how uh, and then I realized that recommendation systems is part of the machine learning. And when I started learning machine learning, then I realized that it is simple maths. And this was the maths which I was taught in college, but I was not very interested at that time. So I didn't learn that, but I knew how things working. So I started learning that, and I built a recommendation engine using that maths. Then I built from my existing skills of front end, I built a very beautiful website on top of it. And I combined that there is a website. If you go to that website, you like certain movies and you save them, then the backend, the recommendation engine works, and they tell you that since you like Spider-Man, So it is a high chance that you'll like Captain America or Marvel movies or something. So this is how you build complementary skills, that if you are learning something new, try to incorporate that to your existing tech stack rather than going rogue and learning entirely, unless you want to switch fields. That's up to you.
Right. I have two very popular questions. I will ask I think let's see if we have time for both. So I get them all the time, no matter which kind of workshop or masterclass we are having. One is definitely around web development itself, right? So it's a vast topic in itself. So I believe that definitely if somebody is venturing into data science, so you build from Python. But when it comes to web development, there is back end, front end. Where do you stop? How do you like? There's a full line of technologies to become a full stack developer. So, what kind of a roadmap do you think, and how does one identify if front end is good with them, if back end is there? How do we need to? Does everyone need to become a full stack developer? So, your thoughts and opinion around that topic.
I'll keep it brief. We have limited time. So
Yeah.
the thing here is that when you go to a large organization, there is a very clear demarcation that there is a front end team, there is a back end team. You can work across domain. That is up to you. It is no compulsion that you need to know everything. If you own, the only person who knows everything is Google, and we are not Google. So, and we don't want to become. So you build a niche, you learn that, and now like you in data science you learn with and since you're in college, you have a lot of time to explore things. You can learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and build a website, simple website. You see and try to do it a couple of times. You will, and then assess. Then am I liking this? Am I liking the output? Am I liking the process of building this? If then at this you can try backend, that you build a API, you build some backend system, and then you see, am I liking this? Ask yourself. Then you can give a shot to Android and iOS, because there are n number of systems, and since you have a lot of time at your hand in college and you're so young, you can try, hit and try and see what sticks. I know people who started with Android, and they at one point they didn't like, they switched to iOS and they started liking it, and now they are working in Google, they are working in Facebook, because they as I said earlier, that if you don't ask, then it's a no. If you don't try, then it's a no. Try different things, see what fits, what it is best suited. Not everyone is meant to be a full stack engineer, not everyone is meant to be a backend engineer. You see and try and see what you like.
Okay, awesome. My next question is again on the same lines. So definitely, I do believe that you are a front-end specialist. So, but we get a lot of questions of choices between Python and JavaScript, right? Just as the core concept of it. So definitely, if you're into JavaScript, like you mentioned, you can move into different fields. Similarly, but making a choice between Python and JavaScript is tough, because you can put, there are two different sort of frameworks, and you can put effort either into one, right? So are there any kind of natural inclinations that would suit job roles for Python and job roles for JavaScript? Are there some personality types, some general choices, or how does one choose really between pursuing a career towards the Python side of technology or towards the JavaScript side of technology?
See, every domain has some sort of a primary language. Like if you are going into web development, specifically the UI part of things, then JavaScript is something which is primary. If you go for, data science, then Python or R is the language which is the primary language, or you can use JavaScript to do data science, but it is not optimized. JavaScript is not meant to crunch that large data set. Same for Python, that you can use Python to do some web work, but it is not meant for that thing. Every language has their own pros and cons. At the same time, now you have to, as I say, that you have to define your area of interest, or at least try to find one. It's not necessary that you know it right away. You pick whatever language, try and go on web and build a simple hello world program on both. You see in which language you feel more comfortable, and try to research about the job perspective. Web, every language, apart from the language from very old languages, every language, be it Python, be it JavaScript, be it Golang, Ruby on Rails, every language have job openings. You will find job for everything. And if you learn JavaScript, like I personally can write JavaScript and I can write Python both. It's not like that I'm master of one. It's not like that, because the language construct are same, loop, arrays, that mentality, the same applies to Python.
Right.
So pick one, and then you can move on to another language if you don't like, or maybe if your job demands. I used to work on UI, but in my company, I was a full stack engineer, and they asked me to build a Python system. I picked it up, and one day I started doing it, and eventually I know. And the recommendation engine I wrote, that was in Python. So it's easy to pick. There is no hard and fast rule.
Okay, awesome. Great. Thank you so much. I think I'm done. I've covered, I think 99 or 100% of the questions in the chat. I'm sorry if I missed something. Again, maybe we have a minute if somebody can mention if they have any more questions. Irrespective, thank you so much, Mr. Yomesh, for your time. There's a lot of comments in the chat that your answers were very fresh, brought a very fresh perspective. So really thank you for that. To the audience, thank you for listening. Thank you for being patient. Our next session will be starting in 5 minutes. We have also put in the links for Mr. Yomesh's YouTube channel, his website. He is creating content on FrontEnd. He also, you can find him on LinkedIn. He has over 10,000 followers now. And you can also share us your feedback of the session. The link for the feedback is also in the chat box sent by Roy from our team. Please feel free and give us what else you would like to see next from our sessions. Thank you so much for joining, and Mr. Yomesh, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to have you as a mentor for our community in follow-up sessions also.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and they really great questions by everyone. I hope I was able to help at least one person here. Glad to be part of the session.
Any closing words and tips for everyone who's a technical aspirant?
I would say just keep at it. Keep on, irrespective of you're working in front end, back end, just keep at it. As I mentioned, optimize for learning, learn things and start building things and get into the industry and just keep at it. That's all. That's all I want to say. Don't fear rejections. I've been rejected from interviews. If you give an interview tomorrow and you're rejected, that's part of the process. Learn from it and move on.
Great, awesome. Thank you so much again for joining us. Hoping to see you soon. Everyone, please stay tuned. I am still your host for the evening. We have one more session planned. The next session is on becoming an experienced fresher. So we hear this term a lot in the industry that the industry wants freshers, but they need you to come with an experience. So what does it really mean? How do you become an experienced fresher? It is relevant for everyone, whether you are pursuing whatever technology or wherever in your college years you are in. Definitely this session would be relevant for you. We have our speakers joining in. I will introduce them soon. In the meantime, I would be grateful if all of you can share on your Instagram and talk about attending this session. I hope we have been able to give you the value of your time. We'll take a 2-minute break and then we will start with the next session. Oh, great. We have the speakers already. So I think Mr. Lokendra and Mr. Pranav have joined. Hello, good evening.
Hey, Tanvi, hi.
Hi, Tanvi.
Great. So again, thank you, Mr. Yomesh. And so everyone, to introduce you to the next session, as I talked about. So in the industry, we hear about becoming an experienced fresher. We hear that the industry demands people and students to have some kind of exposure to the industry, and it's increasingly becoming more than a demand, more than a preference, right? So we at MyWays very boldly claim to help you become an experienced fresher. That is what we are working day and night for, to help students become experienced fresher. So this panel has been curated specially to help you understand what it really means. And we have an esteemed panel again planned for you. The session will be moderated by our CBO, Mr. Lokendra. Mr. Pranam has joined. He is the HR lead at Virubhan, which is a company in health tech, and we have more speakers joining in. Lokendra, if you can hear me, I would like to hand over the stage to you.
Yeah, sure, Tanvi.
Okay.
Thank you for the brief introduction. Okay, so I think we can take 2-3 minutes more for people to join in. Meanwhile, we can actually start with a brief introduction of the two gentlemen we have. So we are very fortunate enough to grab hold of these two people for the session actually. And I'd like to start with very brief introduction of both of them. So Pranam is basically, as I was told, that he has interest in psychology or behavioral sciences kind of things. Currently, he's heading HR for an edtech organization called Virohan. He also runs his own consulting firm, I think, on psychometric assessment and organizational development. Uh, we also have Ankush with us, who's co-founder of very famous Coding Ninjas. I can see a lot of branding in those backpacks in Delhi Metro of Coding Ninja. So actually, Ankush is a serial entrepreneur before Coding Ninja. He also found Coding Blocks, I think, and before that he was very successful in corporate career with Amazon, with Facebook, and with 100 percentile, if I'm correct on that sense. So we have two gentlemen. One is all about what's the yardsticks of getting noticed by an organization, and how the evaluation works, not just for the process of getting hired, and also for the process of continuously providing value to the organization. And another can be someone hard hitting, manager kind of person who can actually evaluate your skill and how you can actually continuously develop your skill. So I would like to start with a very basic question, or very basic point, which is about how we try to define experienced fresher in the market currently, to make it very simple for the people of let's say final year or pre-final year or tech enthusiasts. So I would request Ankush if he can give us his view. What does actually experienced fresher mean?
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me as part of the panel. Really happy to always happy to interact with students. That's what I do day in, day out. So really happy to talk to as many people as possible. So in general, I think there are two ways to look at this, right? One is, what do companies expect you to do in terms of what they are looking for in your profile as a fresher? What would they be looking for? I think even there is a bigger reason for you to get some experience even as a fresher. The idea is that most of us, I think when we join BTech, we have zero clue what we want to do. We end up taking what we get depending upon whatever score we get, right? So I think it's a lot of people you will see after BTech will take different paths. Some people will, like I have enough examples from people from my batch as well. They tried something for 1 year, 2 years, and then basically they realize this is not something I'm enjoying. I need to do something else. A lot of people will keep switching for the couple of years post completing their BTech as well. And I think ideally the main purpose of BTech or whatever degree you're doing, bachelor's degree, right, should be to explore and figure out what you really want to do. So if you do, the best way to get experience as a fresher is to do internships, as many as possible. And if you do 1, 2, 3 internships while you are in college, automatically means that you should try and do like in different domains, in different sort of companies. If you are sure that you want to be in tech, in coding, then one might want to try like startup, a relatively larger company, right? So this will really give you an experience on what you really want to do as well, and not just what companies would be looking from you. As a recruiter, whenever I'm looking to hire somebody, having any sort of experience in terms of internships, in terms of building really good projects, as another way of getting like being experienced, right? Like if you have good projects which you have actually deployed, they're not just on your resume, they are actually visible to somebody, for somebody to see. I think these are two best ways to become get some experience. And definitely as a recruiter myself, like I would put in so much more emphasis on people who would have this sort of experience, because automatically it means that first of all they would need less training once they join. Secondly, it shows that they have they are motivated, that they have put in that effort compared to everybody else who was just not doing anything while they were in college, right? So definitely very, very valuable. And I think these are two ways that people would actually get it.
Excellent. So we do agree on, practical experience and requiring a less training part of it. But then there is question arise, and I would like Pranav to take on this, is about having projects of a particular language or of a very specialized sector of that particular language or that part of the tech, vis-a-vis having various projects of different sectors or different languages. So how an HR or how an organization sees these two candidates, one who's having projects surrounding a lot of technologies or a lot of languages, and one who's very concentrated on a particular side of it or particular language of it.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Lokendra, for the question. So see, I obviously can't say for all the HRs out there, right? For all the companies, I think every company would have its own criteria. I can share what I or at Rohan, what do we look for? So see, languages. If you ask me, it doesn't matter. It's at least I personally would never give preference to someone who knows a language, right? What is more important is, does the person have the skill set to learn, to explore? For example, what Ankush was sharing earlier, right? Has he had that had that exposure in different sectors, in different areas, knows what he's really looking for, has a passion to explore, zeal to learn, especially when you talk of startups and younger companies, right? In even companies, when they grow big, they want to keep that culture of innovation ahead. So लैंग्वेज एक साल के बाद 2 साल के बाद रिडेंडेंट हो जाएगी, राइट? आज के टाइम पे कौन C++ जावा यूज करता है, राइट? आई मीन the code base has evolved so much that you don't really look for people who know a particular language or a particular skill set, but you look for more for attitude and intent. I think that's what more counts. I mean, more than ever in today's time. So that is, I think, I feel much more important. Obviously, tech stack, get a basic sense of while in college, the latest tech stack out there. So for example, if you're interested in front end, so what's the latest trends in front end that is there? So obviously that helps you get an edge when in terms of getting in and kickstarting your career, or maybe growing fast in your career. But knowing one language is not so much of important than the outlook of how you approach learning it as a whole, I feel.
Understood. So the whole the whole crowd around Hyderabad, Bangalore, and now the online space about updating your tech stack every few months. This is something which is a very norm. It is accepted norm of the industry now. So now the scenario is that what are the tech or non-tech essentials? Like, we are not talking about an exceptional kind of thing. What are the essentials which are specifically needed a candidate must have, and then beyond that you check everything? What he or she will not have, and that will reject that candidate? So can I ask both of you to put some pointers on that?
Yeah. Ankush, please go ahead.
Okay. Sure. So honestly, I think hiring in today's time is so painful that personally what I look for is there one reason for me to talk to this person? And that one reason generally is that they have done some internships or some effort they have put in, which tells me that this person has the right sort of attitude towards work, attitude towards their career, right? If somebody has an empty resume overall, the project seems like most likely it's basically from some class in the college, which I know most likely will be like very, very limited in terms of scope, and would likely be coming from somewhere else rather than the person building themselves, then obviously I'm going to reject that person and not spend more time on them. But in general, I think as Pranam said as well, the attitude, the feel that this person has put in the effort. Personally, I don't like people who would have spent like 3 years on data structure algorithms and would have learned nothing beyond that, right? Like nothing on projects, nothing done on web development, nothing on machine learning, right? Like I would personally not be very interested, because it's very clear that their mindset is that I need to get a job. What is the minimum I need to do to get that job? I'll do that much. That's why they were doing data structures for the last 3 years, because they knew most of the companies, especially large product companies, would sort of focus on that. So they would just focus only on that. So automatically tells me that their attitude is, let's do the minimum possible to get a good job, right? And the attitude is not that I like technology, I want to build something, or that itself is missing, right? So as I said earlier, projects and internships are like the key area for me that I would be looking for. And as soon as somebody has a working link of a project that they have built, that automatically gets far better in my eye, because I know I can actually see it. And the fact that they have gone in the extra step to actually deploy it, to actually go ahead and like complete that process, right? Like the last 5-10% effort is always the most painful effort, because you feel that I've been doing this for so long now, this last 5-10%, like, do I really want to do this or not? But somebody has gone ahead and done that. Definitely would be more than happy to talk to such people.
Excellent. So the first myth about getting your specialization in tech stack so early, being a fresher, is actually not very good idea with respect to evaluation, as I can understand from both of you.
I don't think, as Pranam said earlier as well, right? I don't think if a company is really hell-bent on tech stack, I would suggest you to not go and consider that company, right? I just reject that company. It's not worth. The attitude is not right from the company's point of view. You want to become a good software developer and not a good Java developer or a Python developer. That's a recipe for failure.
It's about logic. It's about algo. It's about logic. It's about ideas.
And you will have to update yourself, right? Like you will have to continuously keep learning new languages and keep learning new frameworks. If you're going to get stuck on one framework and that's what you want to do, then you will become a liability rather than an asset for the company, because now the company has to think that the right framework is something else, but should I do this framework because this guy wants to do this? Obviously that the answer is going to be no, and the person needs to move out. Like I have worked only for 2.5 years in industry as a software developer, right? Like the rest of my career has been as an entrepreneur. In those 2.5 years, I would have worked on C++, Java, PHP, Perl, Objective-C, right? I would have worked on all of these different languages because that's what the project required. Now, if I'm going to say that I'm not going to work on this, then somebody else is going to work on this.
Correct. Okay. So I just want to shift our discussion a bit towards practical aspects of learning, and if I may so, I want to divide it between level of institutes. Obviously both of you belong to the elitist of the institutes, the elitist of the tech institute. So I would like to divide it between elitist and somewhere middle tier colleges. Then I would also like to divide the discussion among the industry with respect to the best of the jobs or best of the companies, and somewhere around startups or every other company kind of. So can we take one quadrant of it, and we can talk about best of the colleges and best of the job, and then we can shift along the quadrant. I do believe, please go ahead and agree or disagree with me, that self-evaluation is the most important part when you are actually entering the market. So you should know where you belong with respect to not just your present scenario, but also with respect to the job market you are entering, in terms of wanting a job for or applying for a job for which level of company, and you coming from which kind of background, which college, which kind of educational background. So if you both can shed some light on top colleges and top tier jobs, what's the level of preparation should be and how it can be done?
So I have a question, Lokesh. Why should it be different?
I think the basic assumption is about level of aptitude and also the level of resources available to people, be it college, be it city, be it the access to those jobs in those
Sure.
organizations.
So, see, I'll tell you what my experience has been, right? And again, it's been just my experience. So, when it comes to the access to resources, everything is open today, right? There's nothing you can not access today as a knowledge, right? No matter even today, if you are a tier 3 city or even in villages, the internet connectivity has been so wide spread that you can genuinely learn anything that you want out there. So when it comes to access to resources, there's no change, right? The only big difference, if you ask me, in terms of hiring from different campuses, is that obviously someone who has worked for, let's say, 2 years 11 12th में, let's assume BTech की बात कर रहे हैं तो JEE crack किया होगा या whatever the current contemporary exam is. So essentially it shows that there's some level of grit that is there, कि वो consistent perseverance to do something consistently, right, under pressure, right? And that perseverance is what at least for me makes me go and prefer, let's say, a tier 1 institute versus let's say another college, right? But that should not qualify that everyone in the tier 1 institute will be better than everyone in the tier 3 institute, let's say, right? So I feel if you just stand to the basics, what I think Ankush was talking about earlier, right, that people completing that last 5%, 10% of the thing, right, that is great. You might have completed 90%, but which last 10%, that's the hardest to do. And I have the exposure of working with people who even haven't completed their colleges or might have nothing done, no brand, but one of the smartest guys you get to work with. Unfortunately, didn't have that exposure of 11 12 में कोई guide कर देता जिससे अच्छे college में चले जाते हैं, that the reason they might be in a tier, not be in a premier elite institute, right? So yes, elite institute has a certain better filtration in terms of you have exposure of showing grit consistently, that is there. But having said that, I don't think there's any reason to divide a classification on that basis. And I mean, that's my judgment. And I mean, happy to there's any other point of view on it.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that point exactly what you replied actually. See, Ankush, if you can confirm that the evaluation process of companies currently hiring has changed a lot over the years. Earlier, it was all merit based or pedigree based, but now it is more about practical exposure, more about quizzes, more about tests, and more about scoring in those tests rather than just your pedigree. Then I think that can give these people a lot of confidence about not coming from some pedigree based institute actually. So if you can shed some light on that.
Sure. So I think I would like to divide this discussion into two parts. First, tech jobs and non-tech jobs, right? So there is a specific difference between these two, and there are two reasons for that. For tech jobs, I think most of the companies now don't have an option to go beyond pedigree, right? They are not able to, like, if everybody says that I want to hire from IITs only, they will just not be able to hire. So that is one thing, like they just don't have an option. Like we say, beggars are not choosers. Companies right now are beggars. I'm telling you, literally every week I'll have a conversation with a CTO or a CEO, and they'll be like, "यार कुछ भी करके दिलवा दे लोग बस, तेरे पास तो होंगे, right? Like coding ninja चला रहा है तो like तेरे पास होंगे कुछ लोग, कुछ भी करके दिलवा दे, right? Like this is literally how the desperation of companies is. That is one point. Secondly,
Like same is here, just to
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure. So,
yeah.
Secondly, in case of tech, there is one more difference. You can evaluate tech relatively objectively, right? Like compared to a non-tech person. Somebody being a good manager compared to somebody being a good coder, there is relatively better objectivity in case of a tech evaluation. I can give a
Quantification.
test, right? I can give a test, or I can ask them to build a project. Bana ke nahi bana dhang se, right? Like on the basis that I can evaluate them properly. So, for example, personally, in tech jobs, I don't care about college at all. Like at all, right? Like I'll not care IIT se hai ya nahi kiya hai college, kuch nahi kiya, right? Like I'll not care about it now. In non-tech, where the evaluation is not that simple, right? Where I might still have to worry a little more about like kaisa manager hai, aptitude acha hai nahi hai, right? Like I'll have to go through all those things where the evaluation might not be that easy. There, the pedigree of what companies they have worked with, what colleges they have been to, and relatively I have more options as well, right? Like I can be a little more choosy. I know mil jayega, aisa nahi hai ki matlab I'll not be able to hire. Like market is not, it's painful for there as well, but like relative to tech, it's far better, right? So because of these two reasons, availability of talent, and secondly, ability to measure correctly, I think in tech, companies don't have an option to just stick to pedigree. They have to go beyond. And I'm not talking about companies, startups like us, right? Like I'm even talking about Amazon. They don't have an option. They cannot hire just from IITs. They will not be able to fill in their requirements. Now, coming to your second question, right? Like I think there is tier 1, tier 2 colleges. Yeah. There is a tier between colleges. I don't agree on the tiers between companies, right? There is no tiers between the companies. Colleges, why? You will not find anybody if they get IIT Delhi Computer Science or they get NIT Computer Science. You will not be able to justify to them कि यार तू IIT मत जा, तू NIT चला जा, है ना? तुम नहीं कर पाओगे उसको justify. There is a clear distinction. We know which one is better, which one you should go to. But there is no such distinction between companies. So for example, if somebody gets an offer in Amazon and somebody gets an offer in Coding Ninjas, there will be few people who will opt for Amazon. There will be few people who will opt for Coding Ninjas because the working style is different. So I have a problem with this overall, the way we think, right? Like that these are like top product companies. Then the second layer is startups. That
obsession of brand.
Yeah. So I think as a fresher, you will do far better if you actually go to a startup compared to going to an Amazon or going to a large company. That's my bias maybe, but the level of learning you will have, not just in tech, in other areas as well, is going to be far better than what you will learn while going to any bigger brand, right? The amount of effort you will put in, the amount of learning you will have is going to be far better. That might be good for some people, that might not be good for some people. So you need to evaluate accordingly, but it's not a clear-cut answer that Amazon is better than something else, a startup for everybody. So there, I think we need to evaluate on the basis of what this person really wants.
Okay. So, Pranam, does startups or mid-tier companies also have profound employee policies or a better employee policy what they used to have 10 years in the past, and does they take care of people or freshers better in Indian corporate scenarios? Because that's the one of the big concerns of any fresher when it comes to what Ankush was saying, difference nahi hai. और डिफरेंस नहीं होने के पीछे एक बड़ा कारण होता है कि will they be able to take care of me because I need to grow, I need to learn and everything. So is there a confirmation from you that yes, they are better in terms of taking care of freshers?
So see, as Ankush was sharing, right? I think completely agree with him. It depends on what is it that you're looking for. Now, if you're looking for कि मुझे एक ऐप सर्विस मिल जाए, राइट, मुझे एक बहुत ही क्लियर कट पॉलिसी मिल जाए कि इतने मुझे आना है, इतने मुझे जाना है, राइट, then maybe established setup might be better for you, right? Correct. But if you're looking for that nahi, I want to learn, I want to grow fast in career, I want to learn multiple languages and maybe the latest tech out there, explore building something new, have an impact, not just be like a cog in the wheel, but have a concrete impact of what I'm actually doing every day, visible out there in the lives of people, right?
Yeah, maybe I want to lead a team within 1 year of my career or
Yeah,
something
maybe
like
you want
that.
to fast track growth.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? I think all of that, definitely, I think startups, especially growth stage startups who are in hyper growth mode, provide that much better compared to, a bigger Amazon setup, right? I've seen companies with very, people coming from 15 years of experience, right? 10 years, 15 years experience. I mean, people who've worked with, with, let's say, Rohan for 3 years are much far, I mean, experienced than them. Not in terms of number of years, but experience in terms of exposure that they get, the challenges they're able to solve. So, so it depends on what is that you're really looking for. What's one's definition of that a company is taking care of me, right? Does taking care mean, getting a cab service to and fro from home, right? Better defined policies, or does it mean that you want to learn and grow fast in your career? So what is it you are looking forward to? You need to be clear. And I think then it's about alignment and fitment. So there's no one answer for everyone, right? It's a fitment. A relationship works like that, right? You might be better in relationship with someone than with someone else, right? Doesn't mean that the person is bad, right? Or the other person not taking care. It's just about fitment, and that's what I think one needs to see. What is it that I would get fit with better?
Excellent. Okay. I again want to shift the discussion a bit more towards behavioral aspect of a pre-final year or final year student. Okay. So all of us being product of institutes where we needed to be in and live in program, basically hostel life and all those things. Okay. We were fortunate enough, I think, that we got so much time with the peers and all those things. But with respect to all the nuances a pre-final or final year student has in the college, what are the few things, if you can just go back in time a bit, Ankush and Pranam, and just suggest them that you do all those things, sab kuch karo, whatever the nuances are, but take care of these things, which can seem very futile today for us कि यार ये बहुत सिंपल सी चीज थी जो करनी चाहिए थी या करना चाहिए उनको, but at that time or at this time when they are in pre-final final year, they are not thinking about it कि हाँ ये कुछ चीजें हैं जो मुझे I should take care of from the pre-final year and in the final year. So if we can go into that.
Sure. Ankush, would you like to go ahead?
Sure. So I think, so I graduated in 2008, right? So that was 14 years ago.
Yeah, same year.
That was
I'm
14.
also 2008 pass out from engineering college.
Okay. So I think one major thing that has changed since then, we did not know what startups are. Literally. I mean, like, I would not have heard more than 1 or 2 times people talking about startups in my 4 years in IIT. Flipkart was founded like in 2009, right? So like or 2008 maybe. So we had just graduated. I think it was launched at that time. So one thing is that, but we also used to think that Amazon jana hai, and aaj bhi log soch rahe hain ki Amazon jana. I think like that is one thing that people need to really think beyond. That I wish I had that knowledge at that time. And honestly, I happened to go for my master's to the US. Otherwise, I'd had zero clue that I would want to do a startup. I would never thought of that I would personally want to do a startup, right? Like, so I went there, like saw a lot of people doing it, and that sort of felt like this is something that's going to be very exciting. I want to do this. So overall, just open your mind, think of other companies as well. That is one part. Secondly, please do as many internships as possible. There will be people who will tell you internship to 3rd year ke baad hoti hai. Whoever is telling you this, please do not take advice from them. Find somebody else, they will give you better advice. You need to do as many internships as possible. Most of you, right, would not be spending a very productive time during semester period as well. So you don't have to wait for summers for doing internships. At Coding Ninjas, we have in tech team, we'll have 4 to 5 people who would be during their semester doing an internship with us. We have a lot of internships which we call teaching assistants or content interns. At any time, we have 600 to 700 people who are helping us out as teaching assistants or as content interns. So these 600, 700 people are doing an internship with us while they are in their college during the semester, right? So just find ways to do internships as many as possible in the area that you are interested in, whatever field you are interested in. And ideally do internships which are a little different from each other. So for example, in the US, what I found is there are like a couple of people I talked to and they had such clear understanding that first year ke baad I did an internship at a bank, second year ke baad I did an internship at a consulting firm, third year ke baad I did it at a tech company as a software developer. I was absolutely clear by the end of fourth year what I want to do in my life. Now, if you look at my campus placements, right? Like I applied for banks, I applied for consulting companies, I applied for tech companies. That seems like these companies will decide my career path for rest of my life, right? Like if I had gotten into, instead of getting into Amazon in my campus placement, if I had gotten into a bank, very likely I'll be an investment banker right now. Right. That is absolutely bullshit. I am basically my life is getting decided by those 2-3 days by the companies what I'll be doing for the rest of my life. So we should ideally try to get that clarity during these 3-4 years, what you really want to do. So try to do as many internships as possible, talk to as many people as possible, and get that exposure, what you want to do.
Right. So Lokesh, I'll just add something to I think Ankush beautifully put it that get a lot of internship and exposure. That's very, very important in today's time. I'll just shed a little more of my thought on what to do exactly or what to build within yourself in that internship. So one of the key things which, as an organization, we're learning in terms of evaluating the best people out there is user empathy, right? And that when I say user empathy, it goes beyond for any job role, whether it is even tech or non-tech. So what is user empathy, right? So I'll give you an example. So let's say if I put a job position today out there, I'll get about, let's say, 50 to 100 resumes, let's say, right? Depends on profile, which profile you can get more also. Now, in all of those resumes that are there, if you see, it is always built out, right? Whether resumes are coming through, Naukri to me or through, let's say, through email, all of them are focused all on just myself, right? If I'm sending a resume, it's just about me, right? Whereas a job is not about you, right? A job is not also about the company. It is about the relationship. It is about the contribution, right? What can I contribute? It's about the fitment. And none of the resumes that I've get ever so far talks about that, right? No matter the experience, because we're just focused on कि इस तरह से ही चीजें चलती हैं, right? Whereas if you ask me, a resume should talk about that, right? Why do I want to work in this company, right? Or what do I want to contribute here? What do I expect from this company, right? It has to talk about that relationship in general, which is currently missing, right? So what I've realized is the best people I have worked with have that sense of user empathy. Of when I say user empathy, I mean understanding things from the perspective of the other person, right? So for example, if you're building a product, what is it the user really needs? Uske concerns kya hai? Uske problems kya hai? Right? For example, the techies who work at Virohan, typically, जो मेरे पहले imagination था कि tech तो एक isolated वो होता है, लोग होते हैं, उनको एक कोना देते हो, बस बैठ के कोडिंग करते रहते हैं. A lot of techies prefer that. I know that, but the best techies don't do that. Right? The best techies are more proactive. They are much more involved in other teams. So today at Virohan, for example, we don't have a department called technology, right? We don't have a department called product. We have pods, interdepartmental pods, where teams from product, technology, marketing, sales all come together to solve a problem for the company, right? Now, when you're working in a system like that, you realize it goes beyond the job role. It's about accomplishing an objective, which is essentially solving a problem for someone, right? So, uh, so whenever you're doing an internship, try to build that mindset. Even if you're doing a sales internship, right, or you're doing a product internship or anything. I mean, it's about understanding the need of the other person and how to address that need. I think that's a very core, fundamental, basic skill which is needed today. I feel it in any job role, right? It doesn't matter it's tech, non-tech. It's that is fundamentally needed, and that can be get even in, let's say, working with an NGO, right? Some of my best exposures has come from connecting at the grassroots, understanding at the society level, how do communities function, what are the challenges that they get, and that has helped personally me a lot in developing that user empathy. So whether you get in a bank or in a sales job or in a NGO, it doesn't matter, right? It's about utilizing that time frame, those internships for building this perspective towards the other person, which today is a very, very fundamental uh, requirement in any job role that it will define how successful you are in a particular job role, or in your career essentially. So yeah, just wanted to add a little more perspective.
Yeah, that's excellent point. We need a lot more time actually to explain that to the students. I hope we'll catch you later for that. It's whole new session where we can actually do this discussion around. But I think people can understand where you're coming from. Um, I just want to revise whatever we have discussed till now so that people can actually correlate whatever we are going to discuss next. So first we talked about basically the essentials, where we discussed about tech stack, why tech stack is not very important, and it is important to have various experiences in terms of internship, in terms of a lot of exposure basically. Then we talked about how colleges basically have, because of the pedigree, have the layers, but jobs may like necessarily do not have that layer currently. Maybe it's just the role, maybe it's the environment of the organization, maybe what exactly a job seeker wants, in what environment he wants to work on. So that's the second thing. The third thing was basically about what can they do, where they can focus. So it is basically about exploring more and more during your college days itself, that what you want to do, rather than purely relying on the placement process or purely relying on one or two sources. Then the interesting point about empathy with respect to either problem solving or actually understanding the end user or the user whom you are delivering the product. So these are the pointers which we have discussed till now. Like going ahead, this the current scenario of job market, uh, like it seems that there is lot of misalignment with respect to lot of openings existing and lot of student applying, and is is there a systemic problem of filtration, or is there a systemic problem of upskilling? What's the issue in current scenario? Like companies are saying that we are not finding good people, and students are saying we are not finding jobs. So a lot of people applying and a lot of jobs which are actually open for long period of time. I can see that a simple software developer job opening which can be closed within 2-3 days is open for maybe a month for many companies. So what is that about? What's your take on that?
So I think look, in this way, I think we can I think divide into tech and non-tech jobs. I think
If we can focus on tech, that will be like more relevant for us, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
So tech, I feel, tech, as Ankush was also sharing earlier, today hiring good tech talent is one of the hardest things a company has to do, right? And when I say one of the hardest things, I mean generally one of the hardest things, right? I think it's a function of the market scenario, how it plays out, which today is, I mean, the demand is much more than the supply, what you call, right? So, for example, the number of companies looking for jobs, so at least good people in technology versus people who have, a passion and an aptitude towards it, उसमें अभी mismatch काफी ज़्यादा है. And that's the reason, especially after COVID, everyone's working on building technology. So hiring for tech today becomes very, very difficult, right? When we talk about, so ऐसा नहीं कि applications नहीं आती हैं, right? But as we were earlier talking about, right, that it's not about, whether someone knows a language, right? It's about that mindset of exploration, of learning, right? And people with that kind of mindset, who are open to work on different tech stacks, right, and explore and grow, वो बहुत rare है, right? And I think if students who are currently in their colleges focusing on building that mindset, working with different technologies, right, whether in front end, whether in back end, whether in product, right, that will, I think, really help in terms of helping the companies find more and more relevant talent, and also people getting more relevant opportunities post the colleges.
Correct. Ankush, if you want to take this.
I think what Pranam said makes a lot of sense, right? Like, it's not about finding software developers. The problem is finding good software developers. Software developers तो हमारे देश में बहुत है. कोई कमी नहीं है ना. अगर मेरे को आज hire करना है somebody with a CS degree, I can hire 100 people today. So just an example. Yesterday I posted on LinkedIn, yesterday or day before, that we are looking to hire SD1, SD2 and interns in tech. I have 1800 applications right now. So सिर्फ एक post किया है with a link to the forms. 1800 people have already filled the form. I'm not saying that I'll not find, I think I'll find enough good people within that 1800, but the majority would be people who would not have put in the right amount of effort in actually upskilling themselves. So the problem is not good software developers, problem is good software developers. Colleges are doing absolutely crappy job at doing that, right? Colleges are not able to upskill. That is very, very clear. And I think that's a fundamental problem जो solve नहीं होने वाली. For a simple reason that if somebody is a good software developer, they don't want to teach. That's not what they want to do. They want to become a software developer. The amount of money they will get paid as a software developer, they don't want to become a teacher. So who is becoming a teacher? Somebody who cannot get a software development job. So they are becoming teachers. Now they are supposed to create the next set of software developers. कैसे हो? नहीं हो सकता. So colleges तो नहीं कर सकते इसको solve. So that's going to stay the same way that it is right now. That colleges will continue producing not so great software developer. And it's not just college problem. Majority of the people are not motivated. They don't want to work hard. They don't want to. They want to do the minimum amount of effort to basically upskill themselves. So the problem is completely about upskilling. Problem is all about putting in the right effort, having the motivation to actually learn.
Correct. वो gap हमेशा रहेगा कि industry को क्या चाहिए.
वही gap है. As more and more, and I keep telling people that तुम एकदम injustice कर रहे हो खुद के साथ. If you have the opportunity to do well in tech today, to upskill for 6, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, and the sort of jobs, the sort of money you will get in tech, insane hai. Like you are being absolutely doing injustice to yourself if you're not upskilling yourself.
मतलब 2.5 years के बाद तो फिर 4-fold हो जाता है, 3-fold 4-fold हो जाता है लगता है मुझे.
कितना fold हो सकता है इसकी कोई limit नहीं. It's basically at some level you have to sort of keep that balance as well. Otherwise you can keep switching jobs in 3 months and like you can keep going 2x, 2x, 2x. It's that crazy right now, right? Like I think acceptance in most companies का हो गया है कि accept करने के बाद joining 20-25% है.
Correct.
वो accept करते हैं फिर join नहीं करते हैं.
नया scenario है.
Yeah, so that's basically what the scenario is. So if you know something, if you have the right skills, you are going to choose what company you want to work for. Companies are not going to choose whether you will work for them. Right? So you get to make that choice. But upskill kar lo.
Yeah, I received a very innocent question actually from Pleo in the chat. So doing more internship during the struggle of academic pressure in between the semester, it affects the academic score. So eventually when it comes to the firms, we are applying for a role, how much this scenario affects. So basically he's asking about academic का score and internship के बीच का time and how to manage and how much academic score actually matters if I am putting, like, I understand it's an innocent kind of question for us, but if you can just take the
I think,
perspective of the student and just reply on that, that will be great.
see, okay, so whoever is asking this, genuinely tell me, do you work hard for your academics throughout the semester? Right? Most of the people I know would work during those last 4-5 days. Right?
2 weeks maximum.
So this is an excuse that we are giving ourselves. A lot of times, देखो, किसी को भी बेवकूफ बनाओ, खुद को मत बनाओ, है ना? तो तुम अभी खुद को बेवकूफ बना रहे हो by saying that I am not able to do this because I have to focus on my academics. Because the reality is most of us would put in the effort in the last 4-5 days, and we'll do decently well. We'll be okay, sort of in terms of academics. If you feel you have to put in effort throughout the semester, then you have to make a choice. The choice, according to me, should be that you need to upskill yourself. You need to get the right skills. Academics may do not be absolutely poor, do not be at the bottom 10%, 20%, but you don't have to be top 10% as well. I think top 10% generally works throughout the semester. You don't have to be top 10%, like be somewhere in the middle, decent in academics, but do really well in terms of your experience, in terms of internships and everything. Obviously, it depends upon what you want to do. आगे जाके PhD करनी है तो please don't take my advice on this. Please work hard on your academics. That's what simple सा है. If you want to get judged by a university, they will value your academics. If you want to get judged by a company, then they are going to value your company experiences, your industry experiences, right? So they will care less about your academics. So accordingly, you need to make a choice.
Excellent. So I think it also provides answer to the question from Nishant, which is education versus experience actually. Anyways, I don't think there's a question when the answer is about working throughout the year kind of thing. Okay. Now the scenario is about how to be consistent with respect to motivation of it. And if Pranav and Ankush, you both can take that. Like for people like us, it is easy to say कि आप time waste मत करो and don't do bullshit around it. But then there is obviously a scenario for a 19 to 22, 23 years old person about motivation in those 2 years or 2.5 years basically. So how we can actually instill that, or is there any scenario where they can actually take that in more seriously? Pranav, if you can take this, and then we can go to Ankush.
Sure. So see, motivation. See, college is a very interesting time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, first time you're out of home for most people, right? There's a lot of freedom that you get. So I mean, there's a lot of peer pressure that is there. There's a lot of different variables that are there in those 3 or 4 years that you're there in a college, right? So see, if you ask me from my experience, I have bullshitted a lot in college, right? There was a certain time I really didn't. I was just there, just going from one place to another, just being in the peer pressure cycle, right? And that will happen to everyone. It's natural, right? It's very difficult. I have seen very few people who are like continuously motivated throughout 4 years and like very focused. College is also about learning with peers, right? It's also about learning in a peer circle, managing that peer pressures, right? And having a voice of your own. So it's, when it comes to motivation, it's not just about, when it comes to college life, it's not just about working on internships, academic scores, right? There's a holistic building of one's own self that is being played out in those 3 or 4 years without you in realizing it, right? Every year you'll see a different version of you growing throughout the year, right? So someone who's been third year would see how different he was from the first year. And that is what college life is also about, right? So for this discussion, wanted to nail it down कि नहीं, हर semester projects करेंगे, वो नहीं, मतलब say if you can do that, great, do that, but it's about building your own self. वो अगर peers के साथ मिलता है, वो street plays में मिलता है, वो अगर social community में जाके काम करने से मिलता है, if you get that, immersing yourself in your curriculum, in your academics, it doesn't matter, right? It's about immersing yourself in something, right? Or maybe if you are a more experimental person, immersing yourself in different things, but that immersion is very important, right? And that immersion can be just in, let's say, a simple activity of group discussions every week. So whatever you do, if you do in one thing, just do that consistently, right? Either keep exploring. I personally prefer an immersion exercise where for some time you immerse yourself in something, right? So that is what brings out the quality. So आपने चाहे 10 प्रोजेक्ट्स भी करती हो, वो मेरे हिसाब से फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, राइट? आपने एक प्रोजेक्ट अच्छा सा इमर्जन के साथ किया हो ना, that is what will give you learning. So look for those immersive experiences, and I mean, obviously enjoy life in a college. That is what college is for.
Okay. Ankush, anything to add?
यार देखो, मोटिवेशन मेंटेन करना बहुत मुश्किल है, एंड अगर तुम मुझसे भी पूछोगे तो आई थिंक 4 years at IIT were the least motivation years for my whole life. I was far more like 11th 12th was obviously absolutely at a different level in terms of motivation, at least for me, right? Like post that, job was much better, masters was much better, and then as an entrepreneur I think I have similar sort of level of enthusiasm or motivation as I had in my JEE times, 11th 12th. Like I really used to feel that kash zindagi mein utni motivation hoti which I had during JEE, I'll achieve like whatever I want to achieve. Now as an entrepreneur I sort of feel that I have the similar level of motivation which I used to have then. So it's very hard to stay motivated during college. I totally agree, and very similar experience. I would have completely skipped multiple classes, like not like pura semester chala jayega, nahi ja rahe class, and kuch bhi random chal raha hai, right? Like so we'll do all those things, which is, but I think one thing that we really need to do is, if you will keep a mind that purpose ye hai 4 saal baad naukri chahiye, to bhai fir final year mein hi hoga effort. We cannot be motivated enough that 4 years we'll put in effort for something that we'll achieve after 4 years. So you need to have shorter goals to actually get something done, right? If you know that meko first year ke baad ye achieve karna hai, that is something that you can set your eye on and will try and achieve. And one thing that happens is you need to commit to whatever goal you decide. The biggest problem right now, what will happen is you will decide something. After a month, you will question yourself. You will go on YouTube. Somebody will give you gyan कि ये नहीं करना चाहिए, ये करना चाहिए, and you will start doing that. After 2 months, like you will go to something else, and after 4-5 months you will feel कि कुछ नहीं किया. And that is the worst feeling, because then you feel demotivated कि इतनी मैं मेहनत भी कर रहा हूँ and फिर कुछ हो भी नहीं रहा है. Why am I doing this? Like at least I will have fun, like most of the other people are having. At least let me have that fun, right? So committing to the goal you are setting and not going to YouTube and hearing that gyan from most of the people, I'm telling you, it's a big problem right now. इतना ज्ञान है ना YouTube पे, which basically means that everybody will question themselves after a month or two that यार this guy is saying something, इतने सारे लोग सुन रहे हैं इसकी बात, तो obviously कुछ समझदार आदमी होगा, so why am I doing something else? Why not following this? Just follow one person, just take one advice and like commit to that goal. And the good part is, if you can be consistent, you don't have to work very hard. If you spend like 1 or 2 hours a day, or you spend like कि एक weekend पे एक दिन मैं लगा लेता हूँ in taking care of, you will already be far better than most of the people, just by being consistent on that little bit of time, right? So but have shorter goals, but commit to those goals. Do not question yourself on those goals. It's far more important that you're making progress towards something rather than finding the right thing to move progress towards, right? Like whether you want to become good in one project or that skill, ek pakad ke hame basically we just need to move towards that direction.
Right. So
I think sorry, looking just I think
Pranam, please go ahead.
One thing Ankush has just briefly touched on, I think I just wanted to just spun it out a little more. I think finding a good mentor really helps, right? If you have the opportunity. I mean, everyone has a lot of people around. जैसे अंकुश मतलब वो ज्ञानबाजी देने वाले बहुत लोग मिल जाते हैं, right? But people who, I mean, come from their own experience, and that's the difference between knowledge and wisdom, right? And वो time लगता है समझने में what is knowledge, what is wisdom, right? But if you can get, well, if you can get, you can always get, find a good mentor, someone who talks sense, right? Who doesn't give gyan, but from his own limited experience, whatever it is can able to guide you, right? That can be a college professor, that can be a, I mean, don't know, a good cousin, that can be a senior, a sorted senior at least, right? So there can be a lot of different mentors that you can get, but having a mentor really helps, at least has helped me build a certain consistent motivation uh, back at college, and I mean still continuously does. So that I just wanted to highlight that point more.
Excellent. Does companies like us or companies like yours, Ankush, has that cheat code of structured learning? Because हमने ये बात की कि कॉलेज जो है वो फुलफिल नहीं करते हैं. सो जब हम बात करते हैं या तो मोटिवेशन की बात करें या हम बोलते हैं कि एक प्रोग्राम, एक कंसिस्टेंसी आपको रखनी चाहिए 1 hour 2 hour or whatever. So does company like us, company like yours, company like there are many in the market, does these company a kind of cheat code कि आप एक structured program से गुजर जाओ within that period of time when you are in pre-final year and final year, so that it's always better to have some structured updated or upskilling learning within that period of time itself. So do we provide that option to these students कि यार आप ये कर लो अगर आप खुद से नहीं कर पा रहे हो?
So okay, so see, I think दो फायदे हैं if you enroll for a program, right? Like simple answer, if you enroll for a program. One, that obviously now you get, for example, in our case we have deadlines. अब तो क्या सेंस है? कोई सेंस नहीं है ना. मतलब मैं एज अ कंपनी बता रहा हूँ कि यार इस हफ्ते ये करना है, नहीं तो मैं मार्क्स नहीं दूंगा. मेरे मार्क्स तेरे से क्या फर्क पड़ेगा? But the only reason I'm doing this is for you to set the target for yourself. It's not that I am giving you a deadline. I want you to give yourself a deadline, which you will not do. So I'm doing it for you, so that in your mind you know that इस week में मुझे इतना complete करना है. And if I am doing it, I am on track. I don't have to worry. I don't have to get I don't have to get that tension that am I making progress or not. First of all, that. Second is, as soon as you pay, you commit.
Correct.
Right? If my courses were free, if I make it free today, it will be worthless. It will be absolutely waste of all my effort and everything. People will come and give me a lot of ज्ञान कि क्या कर रहे हो, free कर दो, लोगों को help करो. मैं बता रहा हूँ लोगों की help नहीं होगी. It will be absolutely waste. Nobody will complete. Correct. I have tried it. We made it during COVID. We made it free for first year students. Saying that तुम 6 महीने late हो गए हो, हमारा time खराब हो गया है. We don't want you to waste more time in figuring out what to do. We'll make it free for you. Nobody completed because it was free. Right? So it helps in two things. First of all, you are committing that now you know that this is what I need to get done in a certain period of time. People come and tell me that why do you give the content for a limited period of time? Why don't you give it for life? फिर से वही problem है. Lifelong दूंगा कोई नहीं करे.
Correct.
Right? So you get that, and along with that, you get some path, and you get that some sort of timelines that I need to take care of these things in this way. And obviously, whatever other services basically we provide, obviously that's going to be helpful. But I think these are reasons why we are able to help a lot of people.
Excellent.
One thing that we have seen that has changed over the last 5-6 years at Coding Ninjas is, shuru mein we used to get almost everybody used to be third year, fourth year student. Now we get close to 40% of our students are first year, second year students. Right? So at least I feel that things are changing in colleges a little bit. People are realizing that they need to do something early on relatively, and they are like spending more time.
Is urgency of it is developing, at least, I think. Okay, so the time is almost up. So we'd like to close with an important question from Nitya, which is, is the importance of degree vanishing? Like, what do you guys think about it? Is the importance of degree vanishing?
Okay, so first of all, I think as a society, degree is very, very ingrained into our systems. In the sense, यूएस वीजा नहीं मिलेगा, है ना, मतलब बहुत बहुत ही क्लियर है कि तुम्हें जॉब नहीं मिलेगी वहां पे, क्योंकि वहां पे वीजा की रिक्वायरमेंट होगी यार की बीटेक करी हुई है,
शादी,
राइट, शादी चलो ठीक है, फिर भी एक लड़की ढूंढनी है, मिल जाएगी, मैं यूएस गवर्नमेंट को चेंज नहीं कर सकता ना, मैं यूएस गवर्नमेंट का डिसीजन चेंज नहीं कर सकता, चलो मान लिया कि आई फाइंड वन गर्ल हु विल बेसिकली एग्री दैट कि चलो ठीक है मेरे लिए कर लेगी, मतलब डिग्री के लिए नहीं करेगी, बट लाइक हाउ विल आई फाइंड समबडी, लाइक हाउ विल आई कन्विंस द यूएस गवर्नमेंट इफ दैट्स समथिंग दैट आई वांट टू अचीव, एंड व्हाट यू वांट will change so frequently, right? Like you might feel that you don't want to go to US ever, or you don't want to go to any other country ever, but that might change after some time. After some time, you might realize that you want to, if there is anything you want to do in non-tech, consulting में जाना है, banking में जाना है, they will still want to have your degrees. They will still continue to want you to have an MBA because it's hard to objectively sort of evaluate. So we're not there yet. In terms of tech, things are moving in that direction. Now you need to be clear. If you have an option, अगर डिग्री करनी है तो यार प्लीज अच्छी जगह से ही करो, है ना. If somebody comes to me in 11th and 12th and tells me that मैं जेईई की तैयारी तो कर रहा हूँ, but साथ में I want to learn coding, should I enroll for coding ninjas? I clearly tell them please don't. या तो मुझे बता दो डिग्री नहीं करोगे, बट अगर करनी है तो यार अच्छी जगह से करो ना फिर. And when I say अच्छी जगह से, the difference is only about people you will be learning with. They will be more motivated if you go to a bad college compared to the better offs. The only difference is the type of people you work with. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है आईआईटी में कुछ अलग पढ़ा देते हैं, बट आईआईटी में जो आसपास के लोग होते हैं वो बहुत स्मार्ट होते हैं, वो लोग धीरे धीरे करके उनको अकल आ जाती है, वो मेहनत करनी शुरू कर देते हैं, and like you will find relatively good people around you who will work hard, right? So that is the major difference. In tech, relatively yes, that degree is not as important as skills are, but still degree will define a lot of things that you will be able to do, because as a society it is very, very ingrained into our system.
So I think I think I partly agree with Ankush. What what Ankush sharing, that I think as a logistic challenge, today degree exists, right? if we see today, there's no need for a degree, right? I'll give an example. Our head of product at Virohan is a doctor, right? An ethic product head, right? He's a doctor, right? I am an engineer, I'm heading HR, right? None of my founders is from at Virohan is from a healthcare sector or have a healthcare degree. So when we see of career progressions, as I was sharing earlier also, today the traditional the majority of the degrees that we give as a society, उसके लिए job roles exist नहीं करते हैं, या जितने job roles आगे आने वाले हैं उसके लिए degrees नहीं बनी है, and that's why हम उसको सबको क्लब करके एक management degree के अंदर डाल देते हैं कि अच्छा management करके बंदा कुछ तो करके आ जाएगा, right? उसको सब कुछ finance सिखा देंगे, कुछ वो सिखा देंगे, right? But if you ask me, it's in the end it's just an aptitude test and a place for, as Ankush said, to just spend some good time with some very, very smart people, right? That's what a degree today accomplishes. As a society, I feel it's very slow, but we're moving in the direction where degrees are becoming obsolete. It will take time. It's a logistic issue more than anything, if you ask me, because अगर as a company मुझे hire करना है तो I will obviously want the smartest guys. Okay, smartest guys के लिए एक aptitude test already ले रखा है लोगों ने, तो I just go there, right? It's that what currently defines the need of a degree. But for an individual, I feel it should not matter so much as being able to really build a strong core within oneself, being able to identify what is it that we are really good at, and just be persistent in being the master of that trade, right? I think for an individual, I mean, if you are not in a best college, it's okay. right? Try to get in a good college, in the best of the colleges, but whatever college you end up with, it's okay. It doesn't, your career doesn't end there, right? You don't need to lose your self-worth and self-confidence because of it, right? And I think that is, as an individual, what how we should think of degrees in the society. uh, uh, it will, it is my personal belief, it will take time, but over time we will lose that idea of degrees fading off. It might take even 20 years, but it will fade off over time. But yeah, currently it's needed as a logistic challenge.
Nice. Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys. I think the time is over. Thank you. Thank you for, like, from bottom of our hearts. Thank you for your time, and I think people will appreciate. This is going to go on social media also, so it is not just for people who are presently here. It is also for the people whosoever will come to our social media and watch this excellent discussion, and will definitely wish people should watch this, because this is an excellent peek into the whole scenario of experienced fresher. So thank you for your time. So we'll finish
Thank
the
you.
session.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time, guys.
Yeah, thank you again, and thanks to the entire MyWays team. And yeah, nice talking to you, Ankush.
Yeah, nice talking to you.
Bye. Take care. Hey Tanvi, you can take over.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for staying till the end. We have a few more sessions planned tomorrow from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m.
I just want to ask, is there any particular question, any other question will be able to answer? Not an issue. We can extend it for next 5-10 minutes if anybody has any question.
Sure. So yes, we have a few more sessions planned tomorrow. At 4 p.m. we have a panel discussion on your journey after your college. So whether to do an MBA, whether to do an MTech, go for a startup, go for an MNC, what kind of journeys are there after college. Then we have a technical quiz where we have exciting prizes at 5 p.m. At 6 p.m. we are going to talk about developing your personalities for the role that you're aiming for, to go beyond the skill. And at 7 p.m., we will have a panel discussion on emerging technologies such as Web3, blockchain, and definitely DeFi and all these technologies that are coming up, and what will be our future with it. So again, Lokendra and we are here for 2 minutes. Thank you so much, Lokendra, for hosting the panel. And I hope to see a lot of the names that I'm seeing here. I am able to recognize some names who have been here since 5 p.m. So hoping to see you tomorrow also. Hope this session was able to add value to you. And do write to us, do give us feedback, and do check out our website for more details. Thank you so much. Are there any more questions, or I should maybe end the week then?
No, I think we don't have any question in chat, so we can end the session.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Hoping to see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.